It's getting close to 3 years since Linux Mint Cinnamon Desktop first began working on their Wayland session. This is a crazy prediction. This was posted in 2023, likely not fully ready until 2026. At the time, it was usable. I wouldn't say good. You could build it. You could theoretically run it. But it was very much not intended for the average everyday user. It was just being included alongside the Mint installation, alongside regular X11 Cinnamon, as sort of this experimental option to get some early feedback from people who are willing to try something out where it was not going to be a good experience. But things have finally changed with the latest news post, June 2026, published on July 8th. Now, we worked really hard on Wayland, and we got to the point where it feels solid and the experience is almost on par with X11. Wayland support will no longer be considered experimental. In the next version of Cinnamon, both X11 and Wayland will be fully supported. Now, I know some people are gonna be like, oh, does this mean this and that? Not considered experimental and fully supported does not mean one-to-one feature parity with everything on X11 and Wayland. That is not what this is. But what it does mean is a lot of those critical problems, a lot of those issues where it was just not really usable, those have now been ironed out, and now it's at a point where they're ready to have just regular average Mint users trying this out and just seeing what it's like, doing some bug testing, and getting it ready to the point where sometime down the line, it could be the new default. Whilst we are talking about this now, do note that for a regular Mint installation, this is not going to be available for a couple of months. This and everything else talked about in this blog post is going to be in the next major release of Mint. That is scheduled for around Christmas this year. So 6 or so months at this point, then you'll be getting this. However, I'll show you in just a bit, there is a way you can mess with it now. But before we get to that, alongside all of the other changes happening every other prior month, here is what is happening in Wayland this time. Proper mapping, sizing, and positioning for new windows, applet pop-up menus, and context menus. So menus like this one here. This is a problem that a lot of environments have had. You spawn a menu near the bottom, and KDE is doing it properly now, but for a long time, it would just be off the bottom of the screen. You do it at the top, it would be off the top of the screen, and it was a whole big mess. I have no doubt that for their regular internal applications, this is going to work fine, but I am kind of curious what is going to break, because there's going to be things that break. There are going to be random toolkits where they've not fully ironed it out just yet, and you're going to see some menus doing some weird things. You even still get this in modern KDE today. For example, if I'm typing in this bar here, can you see it? No. Sometimes when I type in this bar, yeah, it's working today. Sometimes when I type in this bar in my file manager, it appears on my primary screen. Why it does that? Who knows? Proper focus stealing prevention. So some applications, they want to steal the focus of your mouse. Sometimes you want that when it's like a warning pop-up, something like that, an error pop-up. But there's a lot of cases where things want attention when the user doesn't want to give it to them. Many Wayland crash scenarios fixed in Cinnamon, Muffin, Cinnamon Session, and X Wayland. Improved support for multiple monitors and KVM switches. Very nice to see. I am kind of curious if there's going to be problems with vertical monitors, because every environment seems to have problems with them. Hardware acceleration throughout the compositor, desktop session, and both Wayland and X Wayland clients. This is probably a major blocker they had for why they didn't want to take it out of experimental. You do want to have hardware acceleration in a modern system. Doing everything through software rendering it'll work, right? Like it'll function. It's fine for a virtual machine. It's fine for testing. It's not great for day-to-day usage when you've got a whole GPU sitting there doing nothing. Full high DPI support, crisp icons, fixes and mouse cursors, and bug-specific to Chromium apps such as Slack and VS Code. Again, this is another area where KDE still does somewhat struggle. It has greatly improved over the years, but honestly, the main problem you have here is a lot of random applications doing weird random things with their rendering, and you're going to have to special case a bunch of things you never even thought of. Again, for your internal applications, getting it working well is easy enough. For random developers doing stupid things, well, that's the point of the bug testing. Window progress. This is what allows, for instance, to see Nemo copy progress in the panel app button. Nice, not really something I super care about. Root applications run via pkexec run as Wayland clients, not as X11. This is something a lot of people still think is impossible to do. It is not. It's just running it with sudo is not the way to do it. And then random miscellaneous session fixes. Now, I mentioned this is something you can do, and over here, I have it running in a virtual machine. Do note, virtual machine, it's going to do weird virtual machine things. I didn't really feel like installing some hardware because it's not exactly released code. But as you might be able to see in the system settings, in the system information, we are running the Wayland session, and we are on Cinnamon 6.7.4, which is not the version of Cinnamon that is running on Mint, also a considerably newer Linux kernel. Whilst this is something not often talked about in Mint, it is something you can go and do. Again, this is pre-alpha, so keep in mind that it is pre-alpha, but we can go into our apt, we can go into our sources.list.d, and if we do sudo, do we have nano? I think we probably do. We do. You can modify this line right here. It'll say Xena, change that to alpha, the way I have it spelled here, ALFA, and anywhere that it says noble, change this to resolute. So resolute here, resolute-updates, resolute-backport, and resolute-security. This is going to pull in those new packages from Mint, and those new packages from Ubuntu. This is not intended. This is pre-alpha stuff for Mint. Things are going to break. Things are not going to be packaged correctly. I do not recommend running it like this on your regular daily driver because it's gonna go badly for you, but in a virtual machine, for the sake of testing, this can be done. If you want to wait for something that is a little bit more intended to be used, wait until a bit closer to release. There's going to be a beta ISO. It's going to have everything set for you. It's going to have the packages installed, and you'll be good to go. If you want to do this, though, change it and then install the updates, and then you will have this version of Mint with this version of Cinnamon, with the version of the Wayland session, which is no longer considered to be experimental. Things are very likely going to change between this point here and the release of the new version of Mint, so do keep in mind that this very well may change. I might do a dedicated video on this, but I think it's better to wait until a bit closer to the actual release just to see this is what the actual state is. Maybe I'll do a video with the beta ISO when that comes out, just so I'm not really criticizing something which is not intended to actually be daily driven yet. Now, Clem the Mint and the Cinnamon guy has been going around answering some questions because there are some things people are concerned about. One of those, the very, very big question, will Mint default to X11 or Wayland for the DE session? In an ideal scenario, we managed to make Wayland work just as well as X11, and we ship with X11 by default. That's what we're aiming for right now. Wayland is promising, requires usage, testing, feedback, and growth. X11 is proven and mature, so the plan for now is make it better, make it really good. For now, X11 is going to stay the default. Whether that changes in the future is going to depend on a million different factors. And in a similar vein, will the new Cinnamon still be usable in X11? At the moment, I cannot get the latest Linux Mint 22.3 version of Cinnamon to work at all in Wayland on my daily use computer, the only computer I've got at the moment. Wayland in 22.3 is experimental, that is the current version. It's not even beta. It's missing core components, basic features, and it comes with critical bugs. It's more of a proof of concept to show that Cinnamon can and will eventually support Wayland. Wayland in the next version of Mint/Cinnamon is much more stable. In fact, we're hoping it will be as nice an experience as with X11. That being said, Wayland is nowhere near as mature as X11. It doesn't yet have killer features which justify moving away from X11 right now. Quite the opposite. I disagree with that, but I do agree that having them both there for now is a much, much better solution. And there are reasons for X11 to stick around, things that simply aren't covered or supported by Wayland, so X11 is here to stay. If anyone is going to keep X11 around for a while, it's Mint and Debian. And Mint happens to have a Debian version, so that works as well. Now, the main version is Ubuntu-based, but not really important. We're getting sidetracked. Two other reasons you'll see X11 in the next Mint release. Some desktops don't work on Wayland, so X11 is still needed. Even though the Cinnamon version is their main version, they do have the XFCE and the Mate version, and technically various other things are packaged as well. Those are less important. There is the Mate and the XFCE version, and there still needs to be the X server around, so if the X server is still going to be around, you might as well not drop Cinnamon X11 just yet. Even in Cinnamon, even if we manage to make Wayland work just as well as X11, it would be silly to jump into Wayland by default and turn every user into a guinea pig. We'll want one full release at the very least, with a perfectly working Wayland session and a year of feedback before even considering it as default. Nowadays with modern Mint, they have about 2 years between each release, so there'd be about 2 years, maybe an additional year of testing on top of that, and then they'd consider it. That is like a bare minimum. That's 3 years, and considering that this prediction was entirely right, that it wouldn't be ready until 2026, by 2029, look, we can't say what's going to happen. It's 3 years away, but they made one correct prediction. I could see a second. One question: when will all of these characteristics arrive in LMD? That is Linux Mint Debian Edition. We usually backport them to Linux Mint Debian Edition right after Linux Mint goes stable, so sometime around December of this year. Will Wayland properly handle the cursor generated by Huion and Wacom graphics tablets? Also, will an additional cursor be visible during screen capture? I don't have any of these tablets, but yes, I assume it should. Showing/hiding the mouse cursor during screen capture is an option in the screenshot tool. This is one of those inconsistent Wayland problems. I believe it is present in GNOME, but not present in KDE. Correct me if I'm wrong there. Regarding the beta I mentioned earlier, do you plan to have a longer beta testing window for this release rather than the 4 to 6 weeks as in the past? The beta phase is usually a minimum of 2 weeks. It depends on the potential for regression and how much there is to test. And I would say for this one, a lot of people probably haven't gone and tested the Wayland experimental session, so for this release, we'll be looking at a full year of development and a new LTS base, so it will probably be longer than normal. How long that's going to be is still up for debate, but I wouldn't be surprised if we saw like a 4 to 6 or even longer week window. Will primary selection, i.e. copying just by selecting and pasting via middle mouse button, work? As far as I know, this isn't a core feature of Wayland. There are people that still have this problem. There are people that really care about this, and this is another one of those ones where it is very dependent on the environment. Because it is not this core part of Wayland, whether environments decide to bring it along or not is totally up to them. Yes, that works fine. I'm on Mint 23 Cinnamon Wayland here, and there's no problem with this. Mint being Mint, not wanting to change anything, is obviously going to keep it. One more that often comes up: drag and drop support in Wayland. I hear people talking about this being a problem, like, oh, I can't drag and drop things between these different windows, and I have no doubt that some people have a problem with this. I haven't had this issue in a long time. Again, this could be another one of those, it works in some environments, it doesn't work in others, but in Neri, in Hyperland, I believe in Hyperland, could be wrong about that one, in KDE, pretty much everything I've used semi-recently, it hasn't been a problem anymore. It was a problem in the past, though. Moving tabs in Firefox and drag and dropping files in Nemo works fine. I've only listed the main improvements on this blog post, but we're basically considering the Wayland session fully supported, so any little thing we see, we consider a bug and we fix or try to fix it. To give you an example, we still have a little bug on drag and drop in Wayland. The files being a drag and drop are missing the little copy/move emblem. Not a big deal yet, but that's the kind of things we'll tackle before release. But if you're to try the Wayland session right now, the one on the stable version of Mint, the reason that doesn't work is it actually doesn't have the patch in that version just yet because the version that fixed it is a little bit newer. But in the new version, it is going to work just fine. So let me know. Is Linux Mint something you care about? Is it something you daily drive? And have you actually tried out the Wayland session just yet? Whether it be the old experimental version, the pre-alpha version, the latest Git commit, or if you're seeing this in the future as a part of the regular Mint release. I would love to know, so let me know. If you liked the video, go like the video, go subscribe as well, and also hype the video. That's also cool. And if you want to become one of these amazing people over here, check out the Patreon, subscribe, Pay, linked in the description down below. That's going to be it for me, and Minto.